This is gonna hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
Out of enjoyment, a deep love grows that can quickly turn into a passion. That passion allows us to endure the pain, the hard work, and the dedication in the pursuit of excellence. That driving force that allows us to master our craft. Over time, that passion may dwindle or flicker, failing to be the inferno that it once was. The memory of that enjoyment fades on its way to being extinguished. You begin to search for that spark to reignite the same love you once had. Then suddenly, all at once, as if by divine intervention, it is all taken away. The desire is no longer driven by the want, but by the word can't. Then your true passion is realized, and that spark is either extinguished forever or begins to grow hotter than before. I'm Kevin Donaldson, always here with Mike Felice. Bobby Crudele is joining me tonight, and welcome to the Suffering Podcast. If you're a fan of overcoming adversity and overcoming suffering, then we're for you, because that's what we do here, and that's the stories that we highlight. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, please comment, ring the bell so you can get notified of all of our new content, and now you can join. And of course, follow us on all social media so you can find out what we're up to. On this episode of the Suffering Podcast, we welcome two very, very important guests. I know this is going to be a big one for Bobby and I, and that's Shane Crudell and Patrick Donaldson. We spend most of our time talking about you two idiots, so you guys better own up to it. So thank you both for coming in. I appreciate it. And we're going to talk about the suffering of injuries, because you both had some trying times this year, and we're going to get into all that stuff. So before we get into it, let's throw a big shout out to our marquee sponsor. That's Toyota of Hackensack. We don't trust anybody as retired police officers or podcasters, but we do trust Toyota of Hackensack. So if you're looking for a car, go to toyotahackensack.com. All right, guys, Bobby, you're a veteran of the show. Patrick, you were in on episode 64?
Yeah.
Right before you. Right
Really?
before you. Yeah, we had to have a warm-up for you, so we had to have Patrick in.
Oh, okay.
And Shane, you're brand new. But each week, what we do is we take a question from our audience. This week's question comes from Maker's Mark. And it actually came in a little different. So how it came in was, what's your biggest fear stepping into the studio each week? But I want to change it around for you guys. What's your biggest fear of stepping onto the field every game day? Shane, let's start with you.
For me, it's definitely just not being ready. Like, when I'm on the field, when I'm play-by-play, if I'm not ready, like, I'm doubting myself in my head, and then I can't perform to the best of my ability.
So how do you get ready?
Well, it just happens.
Is it a mental thing?
It's a mental thing. It's in practice, if I'm not where I want to be, I'll think, oh, I'm not ready to play, but then once the clock starts and the kickoff, the whistle blows, I'm ready.
Sounds good. Patrick, what do you think?
Well, every time I step on the field, it really comes to mind is, what if I don't do good enough? Not even for my team standards, but for my standards, because I hold myself to a higher standard than anybody else. So basically, when I step on the field, I need to be ready, and if I'm not, I kind of get worried. But in the end, even if I feel like I am ready or not, it all kind of goes as planned, because right when the kickoff happens, I just try to go out there and hit someone as hard as I can.
Well, that's the best way to do it. But what are your standards? So you're gonna, if you are my son, and I do apologize for
Are you
that.
sure?
Well, no, my mailman's pretty tall, so
Yeah. He's good looking too.
So what your standards? You said they're higher than everybody else's. So if everybody expects you to make 10 tackles a game, what are your standards and why are they different?
If anyone expects me to make 10 tackles a game, I expect myself to make 15, because I want to rise above expectations and rise above. I would like to rise above my expectations.
Well,
that's the goal.
That's very Amish of you. You do everything half a time more than everybody else. That's how Amish. Bobby, so I'm going to throw this question to you, as you can either go on the field as a coach, in the studio when you come in here. So what do you think?
I'm going to go with coaching, because that's what my most passion is coaching football. I can't even express how much I love it. But for me, it's about preparation. It's did I do everything I could have possibly done to prepare my team? Maybe the defense or the offense. Most likely it's the defense for me. In practice this week, so the game can take care of itself, because it's all about practice. It's all about practice. The game is what, an hour and change, and you're out there. So I think that's my biggest fear is, okay, did I cover everything? Did I get everything? Did I have, can they respond to every formation? Did I leave anything, one T uncrossed or one I undotted? Am I 100%? I go through this process every single week. And then, as always, the game takes care of itself. But it's a constant fear. It never leaves. It's the same thing all the time, because I need to be consistent in my prep every single week. Not only in practice, but when I'm breaking down film and when I'm doing things like that.
Now, once that whistle blows, kickoff happens, all that noise coming in, does it shut down?
Yeah, I don't hear anything except for what I need to do, what I need to watch on the field, like, what's going on, what adjustments I have to make. I'm not worried about what the offense is doing. I'm not worried about what special teams is doing. I'm only worried about what my job is doing. And I think that's something I try to do with other coaches too. Do your job. Just do your job, because you teach the kids all the time, do your job. He'll do his job, and everything comes together collectively, right? It doesn't always work out that way. But so I do my job, and then that's it.
It's a lot of trust involved when that happens. So you got to be able to trust the person next to you. So the way I take this question, I'm going to do it both, because this is a lot like football to me, right? So when I step into the studio, prior to me stepping in the studio, Patrick got a bird's eye view at this. I'm doing this. We're checking the microphones. We're checking this. We're making sure this is right. And my favorite time is when the cameras go on, because all that background noise, just the same way football, all that background noise just quiets down, and it's time to go to work. And if you are a professional at what you do, and a professional is somebody who works at it every single day, you don't ever there are no off seasons. You're thinking about it. How am I getting better? I'm working out to get this stuff better. I'm making sure that this is right and this is right. My script is right. Everything. Once the lights and cameras go on, all that noise just flows away. I was going to do this thing. Life's this game of inches, but I don't want to steal it from Pacino. But it's the most wonderful feeling in the world. But it's what you do between the whistles, between the beginning whistle and the end of the whistle. So end of the game, the next week, it's what you do in between there that's going to dictate how good you are when that whistle blows for the first time. So just my answer. I don't know if it really helped anybody out, but Maker's Mark, thank you for sending that question in. Keep sending in your questions, and we will try to get them on the air. Now, guys, you're both big football guys. Now, Shane, would you say football is your primary?
Yeah.
And Patrick, I know this. I don't even need to ask you this. Your football is your primary.
Yeah.
What drew you initially to football in order for you to develop this love? Was it your father's love? With him, I never encouraged him. I didn't actually want him to play football because football jacked me up. But what brought your love to the game?
When I was little, I played flag football and I played soccer. I played every sport. I don't remember exactly why I played every sport, but I played t-ball. I played all those.
Because your parents couldn't stand you.
Yeah.
I just want to let you in on that.
I didn't want to say that.
I played every sport, and then it got to a time where I had to pick between soccer and football because the same season. And my dad, I remember this so well. It was in my dining room table, and he just told me to pick whatever I want. He didn't encourage me to do either or, and I just picked football because I enjoyed it more.
I had my fingers crossed on the tail. I was like, please pick football. Soccer's a great sport. I'm not one of those anti-soccer guys.
I just don't know soccer. That's my problem.
It's a tough sport, but I have some really close friends that are unbelievable soccer guys, and their kids are great players. But football was,
Football's closest to my heart. So, but unfortunately, like I said, playing as long as I did, I know the toll it takes on your body, and that's kind of why we're here, to talk about the suffering injuries, the toll that it's constantly taken on your body. And that's why with him, when he went to play soccer, I wasn't exactly happy when he played soccer because I could just stand there. Like, first of all, I don't get along with soccer parents. It's not my thing. But I never encouraged it, but I never discouraged it. And one day he says, "Dad, I want to play football." Shit. It's one of those things. Well, and I got into the
damned
coaching.
if you do, damned if you don't.
I was happy, but I wasn't happy. But Patrick, what developed your love for the sport?
Well, what initially drew me to the sport, first of all, was I was always so much physically bigger than everyone else. And I mean, I felt like I could overpower them. And I mean, I did karate, or they'll play karate. And I mean, I was pretty good at it, but I was always physically bigger than everybody else. And I would be going against kids that were older than me, 2-3 years older than me. So I figured, why not try contact sport? I tried football because that was really the only like contact sport that I knew.
Well, so football's weird because, and both of you have to attest to this, and tell me if this is true. The first hit you take in football, whether you're in third grade, second grade, wherever you start, first hit you're going to know. You're going to know whether the sport's for you or whether it's not for you. It's not for everybody. So was that how you guys, like, what was that like, that first hit? Do you remember, if you can think back?
I mean, the first hit, when I got hit, it's always the same. I just don't feel like, I remember especially going into the season, because I didn't start last year. I was injured a lot and I had a bunch of problems last year. But going into this year, I was like, I haven't took a hit from someone way bigger than me in so long. And I'm undersized, but I go into the game and I get hit and I don't feel it.
So when's your birthday?
January 28th, 2009.
So you're on the younger side because that's where he's October 7th. So he's on the older side. He just missed the cutoff. Yeah. But I did that purposely. Do you have any fear of that? Like, when you saw him take that first hit, was it like,
I remember, so this is the best part about this, is now being a dad. I never coached him. That's a fact. I coached until he was a 7th and 8th grader. So I refuse to. I don't like little kids. I just they're tough to coach, And
didn't talk to you till you hit like 12.
But I watched him, and he played flag one year, and he said, "I want to go up," and he was 5, and then 6 years old, you can go up to Mighty Mites. You know what I mean? But you don't have to. You can stay down on flag and then just go up the next year and pay. It's Mighty Mites is 7-year-olds, right? So in our youth football league, so he went up as a 6-year-old, and he took his licks. And I remember we were in Hasbrook Heights, and they handed him off the ball. He was a running back, and he got tackled and landed on the ball, and he got all the air knocked out of him. And I could see from way down the other side, because I was with the other team. We were having a scrimmage. They have like 2 fields in Hasbrook Heights, so. And someone said, "Oh, he's hurt." And I go, "He'll be all right," because that was my big thing. He'll be all right. And he got up. And I guess, you still want to play? And he was like, "Yeah." And then he just got better and better after that, So it was good. I kind of let it run its course. I never.
So you never coached. He never coached you, even in varsity?
Not now.
No,
only 7th and 8th
I
grade.
coached him for the 7th and 8th grade. I was a coach on the 7th and 8th grade for the last decade. Mm-hmm. However, I did coaches as a peewee. They needed a defensive coordinator for a playoff game, and their guy, something happened to their coach. So they called me down, and so that's the only time I ever coached him as like I guess you were like 9, right? 8 or 9 probably, and I coached him in a playoff game, and they won.
So that's a big advantage, or it can work either way. So like for my father, it was a horrible coach. Worst thing that could ever happen to me. So when he decided to play football, I was very hesitant about coaching him because I had a nightmare for a father for a coach. But here was the problem. I knew since they had the tackle to tackle weight, so I knew he wasn't going to play a skill position. And usually what happens in the lower levels is they stick people who really can't play anything else on the line. Well, I was a line guy my whole life, and I always tried to impress upon my linemen, you have the most important job on the field, because without you, none of the plays happen. So that's why I took that job. But what kind of pressure, Patrick, was it for you knowing that I was your coach? Because there's times I can be a little intense.
Well, I mean, it was like, you're my dad, so I gotta try to impress you. That was kind of...
You didn't.
I didn't.
No,
Okay.
you didn't.
Well, I was trying to at least. It was. I mean, it wasn't that bad because I knew that you would like be proud of me, even though, no matter how I played. But I always tried my hardest to make you as proud as I can, make you as proud as I can.
Well, there were some tears that came down, and there's a picture of you and I. I forget. I think Casey Moss took it, and there's a picture of you and I. You got it's a clinic game. So you're in third grade, and you got tears in your eyes, and I got you right in front of me, and I'm trying to tell you, you got to stop crying. You got to use this on the field, because you were very hesitant in the beginning. But I tried not to be too hard on you because for no good reason. So I think you'll understand it. You can't yell at a kid unless the kid knows that you love them.
Absolutely.
And I tried to impress that upon you and all the other people. But a lot of ways, coaches' kids got the worst. They got it the worst.
I think that's a fact if you're doing it right. And you're out there to prove, hey, listen, I'm not a daddy coach. And listen, everybody knows who the daddy coaches are. All they want to do is coach their kids and only concerned about their kids. And I coach hard. I coach hard. I've always coached hard. He could tell you, there's no room for error. We're going to put in maximum effort. I am a huge Nick Saban guy. Like, I get, like, the principles of coaching, that's where I'm at. And I'll lose my shit, so to speak. But at the same time, I also will build the player up, after I break them down, because you got to coach everybody the same way, but each individual differently. And I think that gets lost in the translation a lot of times. Well, that guy's just a crazy maniac, or he's doing this or that. No, there's a method to my madness, because I have to coach. Everyone has to think that I'm coaching the same, including my own son. But then I don't have to worry about him. He's someone else's problem. And that's how it always was for me. And when he played on my defense, he knew what his job was, and he better do his job, or I was going to get into him, if he didn't. And 9 out of 10 times he did his job. And you can't beat up kids for making mistakes. But it's a repetitive mistake, then they're gonna get it in practice, not on game day. But my point is there's other kids that I can't coach like I could coach him. I could coach him hard. I'm gonna coach.
You know his limitations.
Yeah, I'm gonna coach everybody hard as a group, but individually, there's some kids that I know I'm gonna lose that kid, so I can't do that with him.
Right.
He's the kid I got to take off to the side and just give him 30 seconds of my time so he knows we're right here. I'm not doing this to belittle him in front of anybody. I'm not like doing that, so.
He got a window into it this year, and I suggest you do the same thing. So he coached with me when he could, like in between practices, games. He was out there with me. It was a big honor for me. It was a really big honor to sit there with my son. So I'll do this thing when I'm the head coach. I'll do this. You see, so you go through camp and everybody's focused. You get in a scrimmage, and usually like once a month they lose focus. So the head coach's job has got to snap them back. And a lot of times you got to snap them back by losing your shit. He's watched me do it, but he's watched me do it very strategically. I would tell him, I'd like, watch this. And your veins pop out of my neck. Veins will pop out. And I'll lose my shit.
Forehead.
And then the next practice, they're snapped right back into focus. And it seems to happen every month. Even the parents, like I tell the parents in the beginning, I'm like, I'm going to lose my shit. Don't worry. I have it under control.
These are younger kids, right?
5th and 6th graders.
Yeah, so 7th and 8th graders, predominantly. I don't really discuss anything with the parents. Yeah. They know, listen, this is high school time. This is going to be just like high school. You're going to get coached like high school. You're going to get prepared like high school. You're going to practice like high school. You're going to get taught things that are going on in a high school. And this is all about development. So I really don't discuss much with the parents.
Did you ever see your father, when he was your coach, lose his shit?
Yeah, a lot of times. Everyone would always tell me that, like, he can be crazy sometimes, but then everyone loved him as a coach, so.
Well, there's a way to do that, and some people can't get it. You've seen these people. They don't get it. They just lose. They think that's what a coach does, is yell. No, a coach doesn't yell. Coach uses it strategically, just like a certain play you put in and you use very, very meticulously at certain times. When you saw me, as a player, when you saw me lose my shit, what's going through your head?
oh shit, I messed up.
But I never lost it specifically on you. It
No.
was group.
Everyone like behind the scenes, they've always said you're really scary. I mean, I don't really see it, but they always like your dad's really scary. And even kids that don't even play football and they just see you, they're just like he looks like a really scary dude.
It's funny because it could be a fine line between coaching your kids. Could be a fine line between embarrassing them at times. You know what I mean? And me not pointing them, embarrassing them one-on-one. I mean, as something you're doing to the team or something you're saying that. So I feel like I got lucky. Like I never embarrassed my kids coaching them, ever. But they're the team too. So like Patrick just answered, he wasn't necessarily scared of you, but the rest of the team was. But he's part of that team, so he's like, oh shit, here it comes. But for him, it's more like I've dealt with this at home.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So and the same thing, like I'm sure both of my boys have talked to their teammates and said, yeah, it's all right or whatever,
Yeah, but they got the benefit. So I have a lot of respect for your father. Okay. I believe that he is probably one of the best football coaches that I know. And it's not that I've ever seen him coach, but we talk football a lot. And I know the way he thinks. I know the way he sees things. And that's what, to me, like I called him up throughout the season. Hey, look, I'm having a problem with this. What do you think? And I bounce something off him because I know he looks at football differently than I do. You grew up with that benefit. And I hope, at what point did you see that? Because you've had to see it. If you got football intellect, you've had to see that your father knew what he was doing.
Yeah, so since he never coached me growing up, once I got to the 7th and 8th grade level, they would send us film, and I would want to watch some of the film just to see, and I realized, like, he would break down every play, every second of it, and, like, he'd watch it for, like, hours at night, and that's when I realized, like, he would always tell me, like, on the way home from practice, he would tell me, like, what he thinks and stuff, and I would know, like, he knows football.
Oh, he knows it.
It's funny that he says that because my wife has given me so much grief over the years of like the football. It's just like
good. I'm not alone.
8 hours of breaking film down, but it got to the point where if you're gonna do it right, you might as well do it right, and that's what I try to instill in him and all my players. If you're gonna do it, so I'm putting in all this time, right? So I'm breaking down formations and plays, percentages. Okay, they run the ball out of this formation 67% of the time. They pass 13, but you know what I mean? Whatever. I'm actually got percentages and I'm watching. I break film down and it takes a long time. But that's the only way you can prepare. And then you go out there and you don't see anything that you freaking prepared for. They're doing something else completely different. So I got to stop this on the whim, right?
Patrick, you've had some highlights in your career. What to you up until now? Now you're only a freshman. What's your career highlight so far?
It would probably be last year when I actually got to touch the ball. Mm-hmm. I was a tight end, and I only scored one touchdown,
which I was lucky enough to get on film, and I'm very grateful that I got that on film. Now I was a little hesitant, him being a skill position. I'm a line guy. I always think anybody that's a skill position is not straight. And I let him know it.
Your other son's a kicker. Just remember that.
Yes, I do know that. But he's also a great center. So Shane, same question to you. You've been. Were you quarterback your whole life?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've had a lot of career. You've had a lot to pick from. What do you think your career highlight is so far?
So against Saddlebrook, it was a scrimmage, and it was like a read option, and I pulled it. And I just saw the hole and I just took off, and that feeling of just taking off and there's no one there, and that's just a great feeling. And then you weave through a little bit and then you score, and it's just the best feeling. It's my first touchdown in a year and a half. So
just watch Saquon Barkley. He seems to do it every week. Thank you, Giants fans. I really do appreciate it.
I'm not a Giant fan.
Well, you kind of are.
I'm a Jet fan.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's even.
Some
worse.
friends you are.
I'm sorry. I do apologize. But you've also had some low moments. You've had some moments where maybe you didn't have a great game. Maybe you're a little hard on yourself. Do you remember one in particular?
Yeah, definitely.
I do.
He remembers one too. But 8th grade year, we played every night on a Saturday, and this night we played on a Saturday morning. We drive down. It's like a 45-minute drive. I'm late. We're warming up without me. It's just like horrible. I'm tired. It's just a horrible day. And then we play. We drive down the field. We're playing Manchester in 8th grade. We drive down the field, and we got stopped on like the 1, and then our defense was doing great. And then like a couple missed like calls by the refs, and then everyone shut down. Everybody shut down. 3 people got out, and then on defense, I'll admit I wasn't trying. Like I was, and my dad called him trying to yell at me. I remember this exactly. I was getting blocked, and I was just letting him block me because like I saw the play was like gonna get tackled by someone else, and he was like, "I need more effort out of you." He screamed it, and then the next play, I did the same because I was dead, and I'm not gonna give any excuses. It's on me. And then he pulled me out the game, and I had to sit the rest of the game. That's my worst moment in football.
Patrick?
Last year, we had our first game of the season. We played Mount Olive, and halfway through, it was a rainstorm, like thunder and rain.
The key component to any law enforcement officer being the best version of themselves is through education. Sherry Alsop is a leader in providing that education to police agencies, preparing them for the all too frequent dealings with sexual assault victims.
You've seen Sherry on episode 169 of the Suffering Podcast. She survived incest and almost daily sexual assault, so she comes from a place of experience and true understanding.
Sherry has the intelligence, commitment, and compassion to open the eyes of those on the front lines, while providing the tools to effectively deal with a difficult situation. Sherry's instruction comes from experience and multiple certifications.
Training with Sherry will offer on-site training, customized schedules, specialized instruction tailored from a victim's perspective.
You are going to hear Sherry's heart-wrenching but inspiring survivor story. Learn proprietary trauma-informed training techniques. Uncovered victim-centered interview methods while earning continuing education credits according to your state guidelines. To be the best, you must learn from the best. Let Sherry also guide you through the delicate cases of sexual assault from a victim's point of view.
Be a source of comfort to those victims affected by these traumatic experiences while producing a solid investigation and uncovering details that often go unnoticed.
To find out more or to contact Sherry Alsop, go to sherryalsop.com. That's SherryAllsup.com.
Mind you, we were a lot better than this team. We were a lot better. So the running back, he's like 10 yards in the backfield. It's me and him. I'm out there. I grab his jersey, but I slip off. And then he goes on and scores, and we lose that game. And it kind of sucks because we had a really good season that year. We lost 2 games in the regular season, and one of them we should have lost. That was a good game, but that one we should have won. We should have won.
Varsity?
For varsity.
Yeah.
We should have won that, and I feel like it was my fault that we lost.
So that losing mentality, or that those days you don't have it, it becomes like a virus, and a virus feeds on other people, and it's contagious, and it just filters out to everybody. One person doesn't have it, and if they stay in that hole, man, you watch it as coaches. Like you just watch it just go out to everybody.
When that happens, a coach's responsibility is it's the end of the world, okay? And this is my take on it, not everybody's. It was the end of the world at that Manchester game because I've never seen my leader, who's a quarterback, okay? Now, on defense, I had other kids out there that stayed. There's a couple of kids that didn't falter. Julian Castanera was one of them. He stayed and he played and but my captains, they all checked out. And so for me, at that moment, I made it like it was the end of the world, only because it's a learning moment. This is going to pass. This is a learning opportunity, adversity. Get through it. And I'll tell you what, they came back stronger, and we won our playoff game the next week. And we against a very good Lyndhurst team, and that had beat us earlier in the season. So you always take a negative and then you build it into a positive. But at that moment, I think there was a shock value for me, and it's very hard as a dad, who's coaching, and I'm gonna take that dad thing and throw it in the river, and I'm coaching. I'm going, my own son. You know what I mean? I didn't raise him to quit, and he quit in that game. And the ride home. Forget about it. Forget about it. Oh my God.
Got a little worried. Just wanted to curl up in the seat.
I think Will Cruz was in the car with us, and he still talks about it to this day.
Yeah.
Another coach, he's like, I'll never forget. He goes, you just went on a tirade for 20 minutes.
But I've said this for years that whenever we lost a game, and lost many games, it's not as important from grades 3 through 6 as it is 7th and above, the varsity, 7th, 8th, or 8th grade, whatever you are. But I always watch the kids very closely, how they lose, because it's going to tell me about their character. And it's much easier to win. Nobody has to train to win, but you really got to train your mind to lose. So after those big losses, how did you recover? Like, how did you have to do a deep dive into yourself?
Definitely. My first loss, 8th grade, when we lost to Lyndhurst, that was like the worst I've ever saw myself. After the game, I didn't stop thinking about it till the next week when we played the next week, the next team. I don't deal good with losses because I review every single mistake I made, and it's just always on my mind. But definitely throughout the years, gotten better. But still, I'm not great at losing. I hate losing. I like what's the word? Oh, I lost it. I don't have it. I'll get back to it. But definitely like losing. I hate losing. I hate losing so much. But I can deal with it. I'm not like one of those kids that like blames other people when we lose. I more or less blame myself. So.
Well, those are the kids you got to look out for. You got to look out for the kids. Everybody's fault but their own. And there's enough of them out there. It wasn't, we lost because of this person, this person, this person.
Hey, winning is a collective effort. So is losing. And there's nobody safe in the room. And, him being a quarterback gets it most of the time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean? And it just comes with the territory. So you have to be more mentally strong,
So did you ever watch the movie Greater about Brandon Burlsworth?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So there's a great scene where Burlsworth trips the quarterback, he fumbles, and I think it's the University of Tennessee beats him. And Burlsworth comes up and goes, that was my fault. I tripped you. And he goes, no, I got to take this one. At that moment, you saw that quarterback go from just a quarterback to a leader. And just because of taking ownership of that stuff. So, Patrick, how did you get over that bad moment?
Well, I've had many bad moments. I do know that, but I can't really remember anything before 8th grade, a little bit of 7th grade, but in 8th grade, that tackle that I missed that lost us the game, the next game that we played, it was on the Saturday right after, it was always in the back of my mind, and I just made it very important to me that I did not miss that type of tackle again. And I didn't for the rest of the season, but it was always in the back of my mind, do not miss that type of tackle.
My big line is, you're not hugging your mother. Tackle him.
Well, his mother, unfortunately, is a little tiny thing. So but you've also had the advantage because you've been taller than everybody else. You've had that bigger reach.
That's something I actually wanted to ask him. You're enormous for your age. You are, but your athletic build, I've watched you play football. I've got the clips. I've seen it. You're a talented young man. Being that dominant as a youth player coming into high school and now being up against the speed of the varsity athletes, it's got to be a little more of a shock, like, oh, this is what it's like. You know what I mean? Even though you're big, you know what I mean? If you miss the tackle or you know what I'm saying? You understand what I mean?
Yes,
Like,
definitely.
It's definitely like, it's not like you said it before. I've always been bigger and stronger than everybody, so it was kind of easy for me to dominate, correct? Because I've watched the film and you kind of dominate, you know what I mean? But now, tell me about that. What's it like when you're going up against these varsity guys and you're out there? It could be a little humbling, right?
Yeah, well, it's very humbling because I'm going up against guys that are as big as me, as strong as me, stronger than me, bigger than me, faster than me, older than me. But these guys have more experience and they've trained a lot more and harder and have had direct training to football. And it's definitely a shock when you're there and you're like, wow, these people are a lot better than me. And it's
Could you handle it well?
Yeah, I handle it all
You work
right.
harder, right? That's what it's all about.
Hard work. Yeah, hard work. That's. I mean, my physical abilities got me so far. Hard work can only get me farther.
Yeah.
Well, that's so Mike used to say that all the time. It's, hard work will beat talent, especially when talent doesn't work hard. He
Yep.
used to say
That was his line all the time.
Mike
And
had
it
like
makes a lot
three.
of sense.
Mike had like three lines.
3 lines, and that was one of them. But the mental part of the game, ability can only take you so far.
Yep.
So once then the hard work, but it's also the mental. It's the mental. How strong are you mentally? And that's.
So I had the opportunity to take him to Jets Chapel once, right? And Sauce Gardner walks in, and
He can't tackle.
So he goes, Dad, that's Sauce Gardner. I don't know if you realized it. Did you see the way Sauce Gardner walked into that room? He
No.
walked into the room like, I am Sauce Gardner. Like that.
He is Sauce Gardner.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not a random football player. I am Sauce Gardner. Lee Roussan told me this. So Lee Roussan is a guy we had on the show, played for the Giants in the 80s. And he played in the blue and gray game when he went to Colorado. And he sat in a bus. Guy sits right next to him and says, I am Jerry Rice, the greatest wide receiver in the NFL. And he wasn't even in the NFL. So it's that confidence level. So that's what brings you to the next level. It's you knowing your abilities, being confident in your abilities, never second guessing your abilities. And I always took that lesson from Lee. It's something that takes a lot of work, but it's the work behind it that tells you that, yes, I am capable of doing this stuff. So one of the things, and we're obviously here to talk about injuries. Injuries are just part of the game. You try to protect yourself, you try to train your body, you try to make yourself strong. Were you guys ever afraid of being injured?
Yeah, before the season was the worst because going into it, I didn't even know if I was going to start. It was supposed to be a quarterback battle, but the starter got towards ACL. So I worked so hard the off season, but I wasn't where I wanted to be. So I always had a fear. I was like, am I not big enough? Am I going to get hurt? Oh, I'm going to get hurt. But then I did get hurt, and then that was the worst. I feel like I
Sometimes you
jinxed
can
myself.
plant a seed, right?
Yeah.
I always have what's my saying? What do I always say? You're made of what?
Made of paper.
I always say that. I always say, "What's up with what are you made of paper?" And you know what? It's terrible to even talk like that. These injuries, they just happen. And it's unfortunate. Sometimes you stack them together, just like you want to stack wins and good practices. You stack injuries, and he has had. I think he tore his tendon in a championship game, South Championship game, 8th grade year, playing a fantastic game. The team was playing unbelievable. He goes down. That's the thing in our small community. We only usually have one quarterback, and that's it. After that, it's a nosedive. So, or it's an underdeveloped kid that can't. You don't even have business putting him in a game. You're doing him an injustice. So that, and then for freshman year, he breaks his finger. He's out. And then this year.
Well, so as parents, as a parent, and I'm going to put this one on you, Bob. A parent who also coaches, we got to push you so far, but there's a point where you're actually really hurt. Are you injured or are you hurt? That's the big thing, right? Are you injured or are you hurt? And sometimes we don't know. Because I remember he came to me with his injury this year, and I saw the tears in his eyes. And he's not a crier. Sometimes he could be a bit of a puss, but he's not usually a crier. And I saw it in his eyes. And only thing I told him, don't let the trainer see you, because I wanted to take care of it off the field without the trainer getting involved. How do you judge that?
Well, I was on the field when he got hurt. At away games, I just go on the field if I can, So he actually got hurt before he got hurt. It was in the second quarter, late the second quarter, fall through forearm versus helmet defensive tackle.
Oh, wow.
So now it's bad. Like I could tell he's hurt. And I saw the play. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, yo, are they gonna get you back in? So listen, same scenario, and I mean this wholeheartedly. He completes the game, we walk away with the win. He doesn't stay in the game, we can't run an offense. So you're 3 and out. And the defense is out there all night long. You know, young defense. You're not going to stop these kids. You're up in Manchester. They're athletic, you know, decent team. So he says, I can go. I just can't throw the ball down the field that well, but I can grip it. We can go. I'm like, all right. About third quarter, they get the ball. They're doing a little drive. It's like third and whatever. He runs for a first down, gets knocked out of bounds. That's when he put the other arm out to brace himself because this arm was hurt. So I go over to him on the bench because they're calling me over now. It's bad. So he's like, it's bad. It's bad. It's my Tommy John, I think he said, right? Didn't you say right away, it's my Tommy John? And I'm like, how do you know it's your Tommy John? And just in that same breath, I go, why would you put that other arm out to brace yourself? He goes, not now, Dad, not now. Because we've advanced to like, you're not a little kid anymore where you can go, hey, are you really hurt? What, get back in the game. I knew he was hurt. And then they tested him, and I just had that overwhelming, you know, because I'm not a coach now. I'm your dad. I'm sitting on the bench, and he's distraught because I think about it this way. I saw him, and this is I just ran into Coach Dunn from Rutherford, the head coach, and he always brings up to me that he saw Shane in that game, and he saw him tear his tendon, getting tackled out of bounds, and he said he'll never forget him yelling on the ground, going, I can't go out like this. I gotta stay in this game. I gotta stay in this game. And he goes, I would love to coach a kid like that. He goes, he just knew. And then he says, man, he goes, he just can't catch a break. And I'm like, it was the same thing. I said, my heart goes out to him because these are season-ending injuries. You know, these aren't like, you know, I'll be back in 2 weeks. You know, so it was tough, especially, but the saving grace is he's a sophomore. So starting sophomore, you get to, you're losing a lot of experience, but you'll be fine junior year.
So you can make it back. Now you get this injury, and the extent of this injury, you don't know yet. What's going through your head? You're sitting on the sidelines. It hurts like hell. What's going through your head?
It was the worst. I was just on the bench crying. I was like, there's no way this happens to me. Like, how does this happen? I was just so aggravated. I was like thinking about everything I said every single practice in the summer following up to this one game. I was like, how does this happen? Why me? Like, I was like just questioning everything.
Would have been better if you got hurt in like the first week at camp,
yeah,
versus making it through camp. But I saw the picture of you laying in the hospital bed, and I noticed this look on your face. It's this look of defeat. You're like, you know, because your future at this point is uncertain. It's the biggest thing that's happening to you. It's the biggest thing in your life, and you can't help the negative thoughts. But how do you guard against keeping those negative thoughts?
It's more like I got hurt and I wanted to take back everything I said in the summer that, oh, I'm going to get hurt. Oh, I'm not big enough. Oh, I wish I had 5 more months. But now I really do have till next season. And I feel like I told my coach on the last game, I was like, I know everyone else thinks we're 0-8, but right now I'm 0-1 and I'm going into my second game. I want to go back and play football so bad. My season ended way too short, so... But now all I can do is get ready for next year, and that helps me like with the negative thoughts. It helps me prepare.
Patrick, I watched the play. I watched you get hit, and it was a stupid way because that was the injury of the season. You know that injury where, like, when a running back gets tackled, they're not breaking their wrist because they got the ball. They know how to fall. But when a lineman gets hit, first thing they do, and it happened. There was like 3 people that went down with the same injury.
Yeah.
What's going through your head?
So I get blindsided, hit, I fall, I hand out, I hurt my wrist, and this kid scores a touchdown. They're about to go to extra point. I'm like, Coach, I gotta get off now because I knew something was wrong immediately. Like, my wrist puffed up so fast, it was throbbing. It hurt so bad I couldn't even move my fingers. I'm like, Coach, I gotta go off. Just give me a play or two. I'm sitting on the bench. I'm I'm on the verge of tears. I'm just rocking back and forth. I'm like, there's no way. I mean, it's just fine. Just give it a second to warm up. It's just like a stinger or something. And then when it was like a balloon. It was like at least that big. And I'm like, I got to get back in the game because we're losing by a lot right now. I didn't talk to the trainer at all. I go over to the equipment bag. I find this crusty old roll of athletic tape, and I just start like wrapping my wrist, and right as I'm about to tear it and go back in, the trainer grabs me. He's like, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm like, I'm going back in the game. What do you mean? He's like, no, you're not. Sit down. And he cuts all the tape off me. I'm like, I'm fine. I just need to go back in. He's like, no, you're not going back in for the rest of the game. We're losing by a lot. It's the end of the quarter. You're not going back in. I'm just like, oh, come on. Like, this really like cannot be happening. So he gives me an ice pack. I have the ice pack on. I'm walking down to the locker room, and I get undressed and everything. I go in the car, and I remember you telling me, you were like, I'm like, Dad, it's really swollen. I think I like hurt it bad or broke it or something. And you're like, just all right, we'll go to CVS, we'll get a brace, and it'll be fine. And then well,
That's the wishful thinking part. That's when you're being a real dad.
So I come out
It's all right.
I come out of the locker room, and my wrist is like huge. I can't move my hand at all. It just throbbing, can't even like wiggle my fingers like that. And
and you have an Italian mother, which
Yeah.
I was trying also to keep it out of her hands as well, but that didn't work really.
I walk out of the car. I'm holding my wrist because it hurts that bad. She's like, Patrick, what's wrong with your wrist? I'm like, I just hit it. It's fine. And we immediately went home, got showered, and I went to the doctor, and they said it was broken. I was like, I sat back in my chair, and I was just like staring at the ceiling. And I was just like, there's no way this is happening.
So this was a point that I watched him, and I hope you did this. I watched how you reacted, because you've never met this type of adversity before. You've never missed a practice. You've never missed a game. Never. And it was the first time, and I sat and you didn't know it, but I was watching how you were going to react. Because there's two ways you can react when you're injured. The world's over and that's it, or okay, I'm injured. This happened. How do I get back? How do I work? I was very happy the way you reacted. Okay, because I wasn't sure what you were going to do. And then, you bugged the shit out of me about taking you to the doctor every week to see if you could play. I mean, every Friday it was, I'm going to go to the doctor, see if I can play next week.
That's unique. He was different. He was like, because, he had a screw surgery, so I kind of like, I got to admit, I was like, it's crazy, but I was like, he might be able to make it back in my mind. But at the same time, I was like, I don't want to, I would never put him in harm's way. It would have to be across the board, But I think he was more like, I got to do my PT. I have to see where I'm at. He was very, very scientific about it, for lack of a better term. He did the PT like crazy. I mean, and he was constantly doing stuff. I know he wanted to come back, but I don't think he really. When we went to I don't know which x-ray it was, but when they came back in the office, it was like 6 weeks, and they go, your bone's totally healed. And he looked at me, and I was like, and she's like, yeah, it's totally healed. But that doesn't mean you can have you can do anything physical yet. You can't have physical contact. But that's when he started practicing with the team, right?
So we talked about a little bit this off air is your training regimen. So you're limited. Both of you were limited on how you can train, and you're trying to work yourself back in, which on paper doesn't make sense because both your teams, you're not going to the state championship. That's out. So you have to start preparing yourself in the hopes that you can get back. You don't want to get soft. You don't want to get out of shape. You spend all this time getting in shape. Shane, what was your training regimen? Like how did you keep preparing yourself to, if it happens, I can get back on the field?
So basically, right after surgery, I lost a lot of weight, and that obviously had a big effect on me, but I built back up, and I gained my weight, all my lost weight back, and I was going to practice, and I was in a brace, and I would throw with one arm. I would do the quarterback drills with everyone, like the backups, and then, I took it from there, and that's how I stayed ready. I just kept throwing because it was my left arm, so I kept throwing my right arm. I would
Did
do
you
cardio.
run? Were you able to run with it?
Yeah, I was doing cardio, legs, and then PT. We would train both my arms. So yeah.
Patrick, how did you train?
So, I would do legs. I would do legs probably like twice a week, and we would go to the gym together on Saturdays, and I'd be doing like one arm push-ups and one arm pull-ups and like one arm deadlifts and shoulder everything. And I just tried because you told me that
It's unilateral training.
unilateral training, and then your other side will follow. Not exactly, but it will follow. And after I got done with my injury, I did see that happen. But I mostly did a lots of cardio. I mean, I ran 3 miles like before school, and then at practice, I got a doctor's note saying I could run, so I would run at school 2 miles, and then I would go up and like just run stuff with the team in my cleats and that nothing else. So I was still staying active and staying strong and just trying to keep and maintain or even build muscle, and same thing with cardiovascular endurance.
Well, you're watching the other team. Do you guys ever feel like the team is kind of leaving you behind because you're out, you can't contribute, and the other team is continuing to work?
Well, for me, I just saw like how much I don't want to sound cocky or anything, but as a quarterback, obviously the most important role in the team. So I saw how much my team suffered, and I didn't feel like I was left behind because they were trying new things, but I just like it just felt bad.
Well, you couldn't contribute, so you feel like you're letting them down, maybe?
Yeah, I remember actually my first game back, I was staying inside all week. I was like, oh, I feel better now. I'm going to go to the game and watch the game. I'm up in the booth, and they score, and then we score. And when we scored, I had no emotion. I wasn't happy. And actually, I was more like upset, like I'm missing out on this. And that continued on for like 5 more weeks every single time. I would just feel so upset. I don't want to feel like I'm happy for my team, but I wish I was out there.
Well, Patrick, you watched your team get slapped on a daily basis.
It was very hard to watch.
The Suffering Podcast welcomes our newest sponsor, Keto Revive. Ketamine infusions that are personalized, accessible, and holistic. Proven treatments for post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, chronic pain, neuropathic pain, and so much more. Keto Revive is physician-operated with customized treatments tailored to you and an outstanding support system. Keto Revive offers first responder special discounts. So try something new, proven treatments, located in Wyckoff, New Jersey. To find out more, visit Keto Revive at ketorevive.com. Let's start healing today.
I didn't feel like they were leaving me behind because I would constantly hear parents and players, they'll be like, come on, Pat, we need you back and healthy. Come on, we need you. And it kind of just drove me more to get healthier, faster. And at this point, it wasn't just for me. It was like a lot more for my team because everyone was like, come on, if we had you there, we could have won, or we could have done better. And even the parents were like, we need you back and healthy.
It's a hard thing to handle.
It is, and you know what? The same happened to him. Like the players, I coached most of everyone on his team, and the kids would come up to me, is Shane coming back? I heard Shane's coming back. Like they would always be, I said, no, he's not coming back. Because they're telling us 12 weeks, you know what I mean? Yeah. There's no chance of him coming back. And then that became a reality out of nowhere. And there was a lot of, me and him are a lot alike in a lot of different ways. We just talked about it on the way up. And
you say inappropriate things?
No, he's I don't know where you're going with that. I haven't even cursed yet. He's driven, but he's also cautious, and I think that whole comeback, he did it for the right reasons, but I feel like he had to be 100% in his head because I think he wasn't. Because I said to him, I was like saying, you can come back, and he's like, I don't know if I'm ready. Like, I said, okay, it's up to you. You play or you don't play. It's not going to make. I didn't realize the impact it was going to have when he did come back. I was big the whole time he was off about being a leader, right? Be a leader, and he is a leader. Well, but I was like, he was a captain. He's a sophomore captain. I want you to be a captain now. And like he's just probably like, "Oh, Dad, give me a freaking break." You know what I mean?
Well, that's what a lot of young players don't realize what that captain's position is. Okay, the captain's position is not going out and getting a coin toss. That's not what a captain is. A captain is you need to lead and have others follow you, and people want to follow you because you're doing the job that you're supposed to be doing. And by the fact that both of you even came back, given the injuries, given the records of your team, because you guys, it was the same.
Yeah.
It was the same, which is kind of odd. But like, why come back if your team isn't doing well?
Yeah. And then another thing like that, even I was talking to my teammates and they told me to not come back. Most of them told me not to come back. Like no one was even like excited or, oh, we're gonna win now. Like they weren't. They were like worried for me. Like especially like one of my best linemen. He was like, just don't come back. You're gonna regret it. If you get hurt again, you're not gonna be able to work this off season. But
Just block.
yeah.
So you as a quarterback, and this is coming from a line guy, you need to impress upon your linemen that you are their responsibility. Because if you can do that, like if you watch an NFL quarterback go anywhere, his linemen, they're with him, or they get isotoner gloves, either way.
Yeah, that's a Dan Marino reference.
That's a Dan Marino reference. But if they do that, if you get hurt, the linemen take it personally.
Yeah.
And I told this with him. There was a game where one of the players tried to hurt the quarterback. Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was the game we won.
Yeah. And I said, this guy's trying to hurt your quarterback. And I don't know how you didn't get called on that penalty. But that's what you got to do. You flatten a guy at the end of the field. He wasn't even near the play.
In the end zone.
Yeah. But it's a really important thing for quarterbacks. And I always impress upon that because your linemen need to take some sort of personal responsibility for you. And if you do that, you're God to them. You really are. But so you guys do one of the rarest things in football. It doesn't happen every day where people get to come back, especially from injuries like yours, Shane. Broken wrists are a little bit different. When you step back up on the field, did you have a little bit of hesitation?
Yeah, definitely. And what I was talking about before is not being ready. Going to that game, I wasn't sure if I was ready or not. Practice was going well, but I was in pain still. Like the doctor checkup, I was just like, I'll be up front. It was hurting bad, but I was like, oh, it doesn't hurt. Like, I'm fine. Just clear me. But, yeah, I was definitely hesitant. I was nervous, really nervous. I didn't want anything to happen, but, I wanted to also keep that thought in the back of my mind that if I just keep my arm in tight, I won't get hurt. I don't want to forget. I don't want to let loose because, if I just forgot that thought, then maybe I would have tried to catch myself or do something dumb like that. So I was making sure to protect myself on the field. So.
But what did you do different when you stepped on that field to lead them to the victory?
I think it was more of controlling the offense, and we could use all our plays, but I made sure everyone kept together. They all said for the last 6 weeks, arguing in the huddle, calling their own plays, and I was like, the first thing I said is, I was like, none of that. Like, I'm the only one talking and the center talks. Like, that's it. And then we were just marching down the field on the team, and we were better than them. And we were better than a lot of teams we played, but we couldn't move the ball in offense. So it was great that we could actually move the ball in offense this time.
As a sophomore, I got to give you credit. You're talking to some seniors out there. You're taking control of them, and that's what you need to do. Patrick, you coming back, was it for you? I think it felt like somebody was holding you back, and all of a sudden they just release you. Was that what it was like?
Is that exactly what it's like? I mean, I felt like I was being just set in stone. Like I couldn't do anything. I was so eager to get out there and give it 200%. And as I got out there, it took me a few games to warm up, but I was feeling really good. It just felt really, really good to be back. And I ended up at one game, having I had 5 the same game I pancaked that kid in the end zone. I had 5 deflections.
Who the heck was that? Was it Morristown?
No, Chatham or
Chatham, yeah.
I had 5 deflections. I had 10 tackles, and it was a moment of relief to know that yeah, I'm back. I'm back playing 100%.
So the cool thing about both of you is you know what that feeling's like, being out. Having that word can't be put in front of you. It's not like you don't want it. You can't. Now, how do you think that is going to play into your future in football? You already know the feelings.
Knowing how it feels to be left out is, I'm never going to take another practice for granted. I'm never going to take conditioning in the morning for granted, because, like, as soon as I got hurt, every day I was like, oh, I don't want to go practice. I don't want to wake up for camp. I love football. Like, football is my life. Like, I'm never going to go back. I have to, that's going to come back in my head. Once I don't want to go to a practice, I'm going to be like, I was out for 8 weeks, and then it'll be better. So
Sometimes you just need a little kick in the pants to reignite that fire underneath you. Because, Patrick, you ever lost your fire for football?
Never.
Never. I mean, when was it for you, Bob? Like, when did you lose your fire for playing, not for coaching, for playing?
I played anything I could play until I was like in my 40s. Like I seriously, I was playing. I was on a softball team where I traveled all over. We traveled everywhere. These guys are
Was that the famous Mike DePalma shorts?
Mike DePalma was the team that we played against. He played on another team. We beat them.
Apparently, Mike had a great ass.
Mike had great shorts. But basketball leagues, football leagues. So, like, you know, at some point, you just can't do it anymore. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, the last time I played softball was with Mike Fillets, and I was about 40, maybe mid-40s, and an over 40 league. I played one or two seasons with him, and I was like, that's it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, you know, I can't put myself in his category. I can't put myself in my son's category, my other son, Ian, or my daughter, for that matter, who I don't want to, she's a phenomenal athlete. I just was someone who worked hard. You know what I mean? I loved it, but I didn't have the talent that they have. So it's different. But I will say this for these two, and they don't even realize it, but they're young, and because of their attitudes and how they love the game so much and their ability to come back from adversity, they make everybody else around them better. And that's what the kids, the really good ones, do. They make the other players around them better. You know, people look at you and they're like, wow, the kid's a freshman, a sophomore, whatever. Look at this kid play. He had a broken wrist and he's back. He's going nuts. This kid's out all year. Why the hell? Don't come back. Are you nuts? Comes back. They win 27-0. All of a sudden, everybody's looking at him like, you did this for us.
Now
you know
the
what I mean? It's
future
a
looks
team
brighter.
thing. The future looks bright because of that one win. That one win of what could have. Well, even though the team, Roselle Park, was not a good football team, it doesn't matter. It's the point that they went out there, they executed. You could see the energy in the team. And listen, as I separate myself from the situation, just looking at it as a coach, I'm like, wow, they're playing like this because their quarterback's back. And they can move the football. It's as simple as that. He can run the ball, he can run the offense, and he can complete passes. He's shifty enough not to get sacked. It's all good. And now that takes you into junior year where all these starting sophomores are now going to be juniors.
So one of the things you two don't realize is your father is the one man in your life that prays, hopes, and wishes for you to be better than them. That's the one person, without a doubt. That's all we want for you, to be better than us. There is no competition. There is no, I'm going to push you down when you get to a certain level, which most people will do. We always want you guys to be better. And thankfully, I think we're both striving to raise good leaders who have a love for the game, for the love of the game, not just because they're good. So, but I appreciate you guys coming in there. You guys want to give out your social media? You guys want to give any plugs out?
Sure. My Instagram is just my name, so Shane_Crudell, and that's it.
Just like your Bobby _Crudele.
Hey,
Listen to the famous rants of Crudell.
The apple doesn't fall far from the tree, huh?
Pat, what about you?
My Instagram is lineman Pat.
It's better than that other one you had, tight end Pat.
I will. Yeah. Woo, that's a little weird. I will say this though, considering he plays for the North Arlington Vikings, and you play for Parsippany Hills Vikings, we need a legitimate tight end and a legitimate defensive end. Now I'm talking like, we could be doing something special down there.
We could be doing a little recruiting.
And 78 Arlington Boulevard, we got an extra room. We always have room for a 6'4", 200-pound kid coming in.
We can talk.
We're talking Group 1 All-State first team.
Yeah.
I think Coach Bay would want him. What do you think?
100%.
Well, listen, I appreciate you guys coming here and talking. I really love your attitude. I love your drive. I love your ability to lead. And I just, it's coming back from what you came back from, overcoming that suffering that puts you here today. And this is something very special for Bobby and I. So thank you both very much from the bottom of my heart. So we're coming to the end of this thing here. And this is a big lesson. What you guys went through with your injuries, this suffering that you went through, watching the team play without you, it's had to have taught you something. So I'm going to ask each individual one of you, what has that suffering taught you?
Again, just never take anything for granted ever again, because I never thought I would see the day where I'm not excited for my team, or like all I am is wishing I could be out there to help them, and like seeing a team I know we could beat and we're losing to, and I feel like I could like help us win, and that's the worst feeling, seriously the worst feeling in the world, and I never want to feel that again. So never take anything for granted.
I like that. Patrick, what's it taught you?
It taught me never take your foot off the gas. I mean, always go 100% every single time. When you're out there and when you're on the field and your team's playing, but you can't, and you're like, oh, if I was in there, I could have made that. You want to be in there and then never have someone from the sideline feel like that. You want to always play 100% and just never, I don't want to say never make any mistakes, but always do the best you could, whatever you can to win.
I appreciate you guys so much, Bobby. I always love it when you come in here because, listen, this kid you got here, you're doing it right. You're raising him right. I got some work to do with him.
You shouldn't say that. I don't think so. But if you want to pass him off on us, we're good to take him.
An adoption. We'll talk about an adoption. Draft. We'll talk about the draft.
We only need him for football. We don't want to love him or anything.
No. He don't need love. He's actually pretty self-sufficient. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, the suffering of injuries with Shane Crudell and Patrick Donaldson. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned. Passion will find you. Hard work beats talent, especially when talent doesn't work hard. The body heals quick. The mind takes a little bit longer. Leaders lead. Never take your foot off the gas. Well, these are the two most important things. So never take your foot off the gas and don't take anything for granted. And that's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to go to popple.com. Put in the code TSP20 for a 20% discount. Follow us on all social media. That's Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, OnlyFans. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And, of course, follow Suffering Podcast. We'll see you on the next episode.